And to some extent, I always feel that the films are put together in post-production. It's in the post-production that the juxtaposition of images that look pretty normal when he films them suddenly become something very different. And I will, just because I think these are nice occasions where one can give some kind of anecdote into the mind of how somebody like Werner works, and I apologize if any of you have heard this one before, but I'll just tell you a little anecdote about the Wild Blue Yonder film, which shows how perhaps we don't quite understand how a film is formulated and how it's going to turn out, even when it's properly described beforehand. Wild Blue Yonder was a film that started off in Pasadena in America, where the International Space Station there asked Werner if he would make a film about the closing of their space station, which was it's about 6 or 7 years ago. They were closing permanently that International Space Station. And he lived close by, and he went in and saw them, and he loved their enthusiasm, and he was very interested in space in any case. So he said, okay, fantastic, we'll try and make a film about the closing of the International Space Station. Then he came to me, and we started the process, as always, of raising money, the worst part of our job. And even when you're working with Werner Herzog, it's not easy. You don't sort of open the door and say, everybody is knocking on the door because it's Werner Herzog. It doesn't work that way. But we did manage to persuade two major broadcasters, the BBC in London and France 2 in Paris, who both agreed that they would fund this film. So we started. Werner went off and did a little bit of filming and a little bit of research. He went to NASA and went through some of the space archives and saw the wonderful footage he could draw upon. And then, much to my annoyance, an American producer who had a lot of money and also had an archive of film about a man called Treadwell, who some of you will have heard of, went to Werner and said, look, have a look at this material. And Werner saw the material and said, oh, that's fantastic, I want to make this film. So he came back to me and said, look, I'm sorry, but I've been offered to make this film, which turned into Grizzly Man. Wonderful film, if you haven't seen it. And I'm very sorry, but can we delay the film, the Wild Blue Yonder film, for a few months, 6 months or something? So broadcasters are tolerant. You're not going to say no in that circumstance. There wasn't a huge rush, so we delayed it. 6 months later, Werner came back and said, I finished Grizzly Man. It's going to be released at the end of this year. We can now go back to Wild Blue Yonder. He said, but I've been thinking hard about this film. I'm not going to put on a German accent because it won't work. I've been thinking hard, and I've changed my mind now. I've decided, because I'm really interested in the environment and what we're doing to it, I'm going to make this a fantasy film, and it's not going to be about the closing of the space station after all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring an alien who will be an American actor called Brad Dourif, who those of you who've seen Lord of the Rings will know him as one of the Black Kings in Lord of the Rings. Brad Dourif, he's going to be an alien, and he is going to appear on Earth from his planet, which has been destroyed, and he is going to shout at people about how we're destroying our planet, and the space elements are going to be, I'm going to use that space footage, but it's going to represent British, American Earthlings looking for an alternative venue when they've destroyed their own. And so it went on. And my head was reeling by this. I didn't understand what the film was quite about, but I knew it's going to have an actor, and it's going to be fantasy, and the footage the space footage was not going to be what it represented in NASA, and the aliens' planet was going to be represented by Antarctic underwater footage that it filmed for Journey to the End of the World, and so on.